Aku cinta Indonesia yang merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, negeriku yang ku cinta. Indonesia Raya, merdeka, merdeka, hiduplah Indonesia Raya.
For all the audiences, please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is a welcoming speech from the Dean of Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. To Dr. Anwar Sanusi MAG, the time is yours.
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Alhamdulillahilladzi hadana li hadza wa ma kunna linahtadiya laula Allah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu la nabiyya ba'dah amma ba'du. Yang saya hormati Pak Rektor IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, yang seyogianya beliau akan hadir dan membuka acara ini. Namun karena ada satu dan lain hal, beliau tidak sempat hadir karena kebetulan beliau ada di tempat yang lain, yang ada dalam kegiatan yang lain. Yang saya hormati para Wakil Rektor 1, Wakil Rektor 2, dan Wakil Rektor 3, para dekan di lingkungan IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, juga para dekan dari seluruh PTKIN di Indonesia yang juga turut hadir dalam kegiatan ini, para Wakil Dekan 3 se-PTKIN Indonesia yang juga hadir di tengah-tengah kita. Yang saya hormati para narasumber kita. Yang pertama Prof. Didin Nurul Rasyidin. Saya sapa juga Pak Didin, apa kabar? Mudah-mudahan sehat selalu, walaupun beliau posisinya tidak juga di Cirebon. Berikutnya yang saya sapa juga Bapak Dr. William Cirebon. Selamat datang di kampus kami, Prof. Pak Dr. William. Juga yang saya hormati Pak Dr. Muhammad Sauki bin Arsyad dari Malaysia. Selamat datang dan selamat bergabung Pak Dr. Muhammad Sauki Arsyad. Salam kenal juga dengan kami. Berikutnya kami sapa Bapak Wahid Nasruddin, PhD.
Ya, terima kasih.
Berikutnya kami sapa juga Mas Gumilar Irfanullah dari jurusan Sejarah dan Peradaban Islam. Hadir juga di tengah-tengah kita moderator yang cantik-cantik. Ini ada Mbak Ana dan Mbak Rani, para kader muda dalam pengembangan program studi dan fakultas. Hadirin dan hadirat yang berbahagia, izinkan saya dalam kesempatan yang mulia ini menyampaikan rasa syukur, rasa terima kasih yang tiada terhingga, karena ternyata kegiatan kita di bulan suci Ramadan ini semakin bertambah pahalanya, karena di samping kita sedang berpuasa, kita juga tetap melakukan aktivitas yang luar biasa. Sholawat beserta salam semoga Allah limpahkan dan tetapkan pada baginda kita Nabi besar Muhammad SAW. Para narasumber yang berbahagia, kalaupun tadi mungkin ada pemutaran video berjudul tentang Fakultas Usuluddin Adab dan Dakwah, karena memang dulu kita masih gabung dengan dakwah, tetapi di akhir tahun 2022 kita mengalami pengembangan, yakni Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab sudah berdiri sendiri dan dakwahnya sudah berdiri sendiri. Nah, tentunya ini sejauh dengan arus transformatif yang kita lakukan, atau IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon yang sekarang sedang sama-sama menanti dan menunggu transformatif kelembagaan dari institut menjadi Universitas Islam Negeri berbasis Cyber Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. Dan tentunya mohon doa dari Bapak dan Ibu yang hadir. Saya yakin di doa di bulan Ramadan ini mustajabah. Mudah-mudahan ada juga hadir Mas Muhammad Sauki, insya Allah Pak Dokter. Doa dari Malaysia ini sangat makbul untuk kami. Juga Pak Dokter William, insya Allah saling membesarkan, saling mendoakan, mudah-mudahan keberkahan bagi kami semuanya. Tidak akan banyak yang ingin saya sampaikan. Marilah kita sama-sama dengan membaca basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Seminar Internasional Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab dengan resmi saya nyatakan dibuka. Sekian, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to Dr. Anwar Sanusi, MAG. Now we are inviting Mr. Angkus Kusnandar, MAG, to recite a prayer prior to the main session. To Mr. Angkus, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusholluna 'alan nabi ya ayyuhalladzina amanu shallu 'alaihi wa sallimu taslima. Amin ya Allah ya rabbal alamin. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin hamdan yuwafi ni'amahu wa yukafi mazidah. Ya rabbana lakal hamdu kama yanbaghi li jalali wajhikal karim wa li sultanik. Allahumma salli salatan tunjina biha min jami'il ahwali wal afat wa taqdilana biha min jami'il hajat wa tuqina biha min jami'is sayiat wa tarfa'una biha indaka ala darajat wa tubalikuna biha aqsal ghayat min jami'il khairat fil hayati wa ba'dal mamat. Allahumma inna nas'aluka salamatan fid din wa afiatan fil jasadi wa ziyadatan fil ilmi wa barakatan fil rizqi wa taubatan qabla al-maut wa rahmatan indal maut wa maghfiratan ba'dal maut. Fa fahamnaha wa Sulaimana wa kullan ataina hukman wa ilman wa sakharna ma'aga udal jibala yusabbihna wa tayra wa kunna fa'ilin ya hayyu ya Ibrahim wa ya Rabb Muhammadin sallallahu alaihi wasallam wa alaihim ajma'in. Allahumma rzuqna al-fahma wal ilma wal hikmata wal aqla bi rahmatika ya arhamar rahimin. Rabbi yassir lana wa la tu'assir alaina. Rabbi tamim lana bil khairi a'malana. Allahumma hassil maqasidana. Allahumma hassil maqasidana. Allahumma hassil maqasidana. Rabbana atina fid dunya hasanah wa fil akhirati hasanah wa qina adzabannar. Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun. Wassalamun alal mursalin. Walhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Nas'aluka al-ijabah al-fatihah. A'udzu billahi minasyaitonir rajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Arrahmanir rahim. Maliki yaumiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladzina an'amta 'alaihim ghairil maghdubi 'alaihim waladdallin. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thanks to Mr. Angkus for reciting it. May Allah bless us through the recitation. Amen. Alhamdulillah, the opening ceremony of today's international seminar has been completed. Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to introduce Mrs. Mutahairani Mustafa M.Hu, a lecturer at Department of Islamic Philosophy, IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, as the moderator of the first main session to start the seminar. I am Hanaul Mubarakah as the master of ceremony, and I would like to withdraw and give the floor to the moderator. Thank you very much for your attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Okay,
Assalamualaikum
well,
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Well, thank you to our beautiful master ceremony. And very good morning all the guests, speakers, and participants of these international seminars. Today is the first Ramadan Mubarak Day. May this blessed month bring us and loved one peace, happiness, and blessing. May we all have a fulfilling Ramadan filled with a spiritual ground, good deeds, and compassion for others. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the International Seminar on Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. My name is Mutahirani Mustafa, and I'm honored to be moderator in this first main session. Okay, in this first session, the topic will be focused on the language and literature. We will have three speakers from different countries. Our speakers will share their talk on the topic and exchange ideas with each other. And I hope all the participants have a note, and later on in question and answer section, you have a question and you can use or asking question by chat or raise your hand directly with the moderator. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to introduce our first esteemed speaker for this session, Dr. William Kankor. Good morning, Mr. William. Welcome to our university. Dr. William is a member of Hearing Empire Association of USA. He has many experience how to face the impaired hearing and language to the students or people on many cases. And also he will share about cross-culture between Indonesia and the USA refers to interaction and exchange of cultures, values, belief, behavior, and custom between people from these two countries. Okay, we are very fortunate to invite Mr. William Kelangorn. And I remind to Mr. William, you have 15 minutes to deliver your materials, and please welcome.
Thank you very much. I'm very honored to participate in this. And I had prepared to participate in Bahasa Indonesia, but I'm glad we can use Bahasa English because it is my mother tongue. I'm a little more familiar with that. My name is William Cleghorn. I was born in the United States. And I want to say thank you to all the directors of the university and the planning committee, and everyone who invited me and liaison to work all of this out. Thank you very much. I'm very honored to take this opportunity to talk about language and cross-cultural experiences that I have had. A little background about myself. My forefathers originated from Scotland, and Scotch people are well known because they are hard-headed and they like to travel to faraway places. And so I am in Indonesia, as far away from America as you can get, and that's okay. We love it here in Bandung. I was born in the middle of the last century. So this was before the period of electronic technology. We used paper and pencil. We did not have cell phones. And so anything that you want to find out about my early childhood, you might need to use archaeology or go to a museum. Today, I'm 68 years old. When we came to Indonesia, I was 60. I was told that it's impossible to learn a foreign language when you're old. But I did not consider 60 years of age to be old. So I tried to learn Indonesia anyway. And if I spoke in Indonesia, you would learn that if you would know if I have learned Indonesia very well or not. But anyway, The Lord has blessed my wife and I. We have been married for almost 2 years, and He has blessed us with 11 children. We have 6 boys and 5 girls. My youngest daughter lives with us here in Bandung. She is a student at UPI in the Pendidikan Bahasa Indonesia dan Sastra, and she keeps up with all the Indonesian classes. She's very fluent in Indonesian. I'm a little slower. I'm in the Pasca Sarjana department as Tiga Linguistics. And some of my Indonesian friends told me, if you join that program, many classes will be taught in English. And I said, okay. So I joined the class. All of my teachers are orang Sunda. So mereka pakai bahasa Indonesia campur bahasa Sunda. I am the only orang asing in the whole program. So I have to keep up with bahasa Indonesia. And so that's good for me in those respects. We moved to Indonesia in 2014, and we lived in Bandung for 8 years. In America, I have been involved in a lot of education. I have THG, S1, S2, S3. I have enough degrees to become a thermometer. But, the degrees don't really help. It's the knowledge that you learn and how you can use that to help other people. I'm in the linguistics program now. I'm thankful for the university, UPI. I'm thankful for all the teachers. They have helped advance my language a lot. I would like to share some of my cross-cultural experiences and then talk about a culture that's within our own culture, or a subgroup of people that's within every culture, the hearing impaired, and the cultural challenges that they face inside our own culture, the cultural challenges that I face now as having experienced 50% hearing loss and trying to participate in higher education with a hearing loss. So I'm experienced from both ways. For many years in the United States, I worked with the hearing impaired. I learned their language. I became a certified interpreter for the deaf. I prefer to use the term hearing impaired. I think it's a little more respectful. And I try to be respectful to every culture and every part of society. When I was at my first university, I had roommates that were hearing impaired. So I mainstreamed with them and learned much about them. I became a certified interpreter. I interpreted college classes. I interpreted for the city. Later on in my education experience, I became the principal of a private school. We incorporated a hearing impaired program into our school. That was successful. My wife and I helped to raise 2 hearing impaired children. One was totally hearing impaired, and the other was partially hearing impaired. And those 2 children have grown up to become successful people in life. I've also worked with handicapped children in Ukraine, or Ukraine, as we say it here, and also with different minority groups in the United States. The main part, I'd like to begin a screen sharing here, if I can work this technology correctly, and address the issues, address some of the issues or the challenges that the hearing impaired face, and they are a culture inside our own culture. They have a language, they have a culture, they have so many things. And so I would like to begin with kind of a simple little presentation. I hope it's not too simple. And I hope you can tolerate my artwork. I am not an artist, but I like to draw anyway. In education, I think it's fundamental that we think about what is the foundation of society. I know this gets into philosophy a little, and that's not my intent, but education must think about what is the foundation of society. And the second question, and we'll try to answer in this presentation, is how can truth be delivered to the next generation? Because that is basically the core of all programs of education. So if truth is the core, and it is, all of us want to know what is reality, what is truth? Then the question we can ask, what is truth? Every society will determine, it will use some source and determine what truth that will be the basis for that society. That basis is different in different societies, but nonetheless, it's what they view to be truth. But truth is a very abstract concept. And how can we take something that is so precious and so vital to our culture, that is abstract, and make it become concrete? So the question is, how can truth be delivered? In what form can it be delivered to the next generation? A simpler question might be, how is truth embodied? We must put that which is abstract into something that becomes reality in our lives. So we all base our life on certain values or morals, but how is that embodied into our culture? The simple answer to that is words. Words are the embodiment of truth. We would not know anything about truth if it wasn't for words. So what we do is we take our words and we build a vocabulary, identify functions, the classes, all those things, and we put them into the factory of our society, and out comes our language. Our language is the vehicle that transmits truth from one generation to the next. And I've illustrated simply as a little truck because little trucks haul everything in Indonesia. In language, or in this little vehicle, is transported knowledge. Knowledge is communicated through words and other experiences, but we have culture communicated through words, history communicated through words, beliefs, laws, literature, everything is communicated through words. Now, I am convinced, based on my research, that the older generations and those who are in the leadership of a society to make sure that the truth, the core values and morals of that society are transported to the next generation. So this vehicle has 4 tires, 4 wheels. 2 of them are on the front, and that is, I can hear, I can speak, it's spoken language, bahasa lisan. The rear wheels, I can write, I can read, that's written language. And for truth to be communicated, all 4 of those wheels must be under the vehicle. If I cannot hear, I will be handicapped when I speak. If I cannot speak and understand, I will not be able to read and write very well. And so a deficiency in one area produces deficiencies in other areas. In relationship to the cross-cultural experiences with hearing impaired, if I cannot hear, I cannot progress at the same speed that other people can progress at. Through the use of sign language, I can patch this tire so that this vehicle can proceed. However, because of limitations in communications and because many nations do not have a standardized sign language, the vehicle proceeds, but it proceeds slowly. If there's no definite foundation of sign language for the hearing impaired, then not only does hearing fall off, but speech falls off. So how much do we communicate knowledge, culture, laws, beliefs through speech? All that will be lost unless we can read and we can write. So we could patch both tires with sign language and alternate forms of communication and alternate forms of being able to help an inability to hear. But still, we can proceed only slowly. We cannot proceed as fast as normal other people can. But if we do not bridge the gap and we do not try to communicate to this group of people within our societies, if hearing is lost, and speech is lost, and reading is lost, and writing is lost. Now, some of my observations cross-culturally working with the hearing impaired is that many of them, their brain is just as developed as anyone else's brain. They are perfectly capable of math, of science. They're perfectly capable of everything. We had a large deaf community in the university that I worked at, and they were in every department. They were even in music. They could sing in sign language. They can do so many things. There are also multiple handicaps that go along with hearing impairment that must be addressed. But if we are concerned about delivering the truth or the core values of our culture to the next generation, in Indonesia, my latest research shows that there's 2.5 million hearing impaired people in Indonesia. I do not know the condition. I don't know I know there's schools. My point is not to evaluate the system in Indonesia, but my point of this part of the lecture is to challenge us to think about a culture of people within a culture that their bodies are as good as ours, their minds are as good as ours, they just cannot hear. One of my roommates in college was a state wrestling champion for the state of South Carolina. He was a handsome young man.
Sorry, Mr. William. Sorry, just remind that you still have 5 minutes more for presenting your material. Thank you.
How do you stop screen sharing? Did you say I have more?
Yes.
Oh, 5 minutes more. Where did I go? Where did I go? Okay, some of the experiences that, some things that I have experienced with hearing loss in the university. Number one is the masculine. If a person is hearing impaired and they cannot see a person's lips, 20 to 30% of meaning is lost immediately. It's difficult for me to be able to understand and hear. I have to depend on my classmates after class. What did the professor say? Please help me. Explain this to me. I have to know what it is. I can focus on reading and I can focus on writing and I can do well there. But hearing is greatly reduced and speaking is greatly reduced. Hearing impaired people have difference in differentiating different sounds, vocals and consonants. For me, the D, T, P, E, all have the same sound. And I have to listen to the complete word and focus on the context to be able to understand what the meaning is. And it's exceedingly difficult. So if the deaf population or the hearing impaired population will be able to succeed in higher education, they must learn a lot about the written format and to be able to read and to write, because most of the assignments and most of the responsibilities in a higher level of education, or even in middle and high school, is based on the printed page. We have a book to read. We have an assignment to write. If a deaf person can understand what is expected of them, and they know how to write and they know how to read, they can accomplish the task the same as any other person. So the point that I would like to make in cross-culture is the challenges just with sound distinctions. And then I'll end on a little personal cross-culture issues for our family. We did not have culture shock when we moved to Indonesia, because we have had many cross-cultural experiences in the US and before. One big experience that we had was with traffic. The first time I drove a car, I was a nervous wreck. I could drive for 30 minutes and that's all. But now, I just use my motor, and I love to put my helmet on and my kacamata hitam and my gloves, and I like to follow a ninja through the traffic. And I have learned about the traffic in Indonesia, and I love and enjoy that. To me, it's relaxing to go and try to become more skillful, finding a way to get through the traffic. So with that, I know our other professors probably have more important things to say, but I'll end my presentation with that. Thank you very much for the opportunity to share my experiences.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. William. Such an interesting presentation. Okay, the point of the bachelor is to highlight of the cross-cultural differences between Indonesia and America is to gain deeper understanding of the ways in which cultures factor impact individuals and societies in different ways. Okay, well, we move to the next speakers. Welcome, Dr. Muhammad Syauqi bin Arsyad. Good morning, Mr. Okay, welcome to our university. Well, Dr. Muhammad Syauqi bin Arsyad is the Dean of Arabic Language University Antarbangsa Sultan Abdul Halim Muazzam Shah, Malaysia. And he will speak about the reluctance of non-native Arabic-speaking postgraduate students to conduct a research.
Sinyalnya kayaknya.
There's problem.
Problem sinyal. Mbak Ana digantikan aja dulu.
Okay, I'm taking over Miss Rani's task to read the curriculum vitae of Pak Syauqi. Okay, our second speaker is Mr. Syauqi, and his complete name is Dr. Muhammad Syauqi bin Arsyad from University Islam Antarbangsa Sultan Abdul Halim Muazzam Shah, or UNISYAMS, Malaysia. And he will be talking about language, especially in about Arabic language. And okay, so without any further ado, maybe we would just listen to Dr. Syauqi's presentation. Mr. Shauki, you have 20 minutes to talk. Okay, time is yours now.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin. Salatu wassalamu ala asyrafil anbiya'i wal mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wa ahlul 'uqdatam min lisani yafqahu qawli. Rabbi yassir wa la tu'assir, rabbi tamim bi khair. Thank you, Madam Moderator. Honorable Dean of Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab, IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, distinguished guests, all speakers at this conference, and also all participants. Firstly, I would like to thank the organizer of the conference who kindly invited me to participate in this great conference in order to deliver a research paper entitled Non-Native Arabic Speaker Postgraduates Students Are Not Interested in Literary Studies, Reasons and Solutions. By the way, Madam Moderator, please allow me to speak in Arabic language and also Malay language after your permission.
Sure, okay, sure, Pak. Please.
شكرا جزيلا. أيها الحفل الكريم، أود أن أنتهز هذه الفرصة لأهنئ جميع المسلمين والمسلمات من مشارق الأرض ومغاربها، فأقول لكم جميعا رمضان كريم وكل عام وأنتم بخير بمناسبة قدوم شهر رمضان المبارك، أعاده الله علينا وعليكم بالخير واليمن والبركات. إن شاء الله في هذه المدة القصيرة سأقدم لكم بحثا بعنوان عدم إقبال طلاب الدراسات العليا الناطقين بغير العربية عن الدراسات الأدبية. طيب، في المقدمة يعد الاهتمام بدراسة الأدب عنصرا مهما للغاية في حياة الطالب وخاصة في الجامعة لتنمية مواهبه الفنية وتوسيع مداركه ومعارفه، كما أنه يدرب الطلاب على فهم المعاني المتضمنة في النصوص الأدبية بشكل أفضل. تلعب المواد الأدبية دورا مهما في تحسين مستوى الكفاءة في استخدام اللغة للتمكين من تقدير النصوص الغنية بالقيم وإدراك ما بها من جماليات وفكر الثقافة. ومع ذلك وجد الباحثان، يعني أنا ودكتور رجب، أن كثيرا من الطلاب الناطقين بغير العربية مترددون في مواصلة دراستهم في مجال الأدب العربي في مرحلتي الماجستير والدكتوراه. لذلك أجريت هذه الدراسة للوقوف على أسباب هذه الظاهرة، ثم تأتي بعدها ببعض الاقتراحات لحل هذه المشكلة. هذه الدراسة هي دراسة ميدانية تكونت عنة البحث من 68 طالبا في مرحلة الدراسات العليا، تخصص اللغة العربية في 4 جامعات محلية في ماليزيا. تتكون أداة البحث من إعداد الاستبيان ثم توزيعه عبر الإنترنت على عينة البحث باستخدام طريقة جوجل فورم، ثم أجريت طريقة التحليل الوصفي لتحليل بيانات الدراسة التي تم جمعها. وكشفت نتائج الدراسة عن أن طلاب الدراسات العليا الناطقين بغير العربية في تخصص اللغة العربية يهتمون بمتابعة مجال اللغويات والتعليم أكثر من مجال الأدب، لأنهم يعتقدون أن مجال الأدب أكثر صعوبة ويتطلب مزيدا من قراءة الأشعار وحفظها. طيب، بالنسبة لمشكلة البحث، حقيقة الواقع لا يواصل الكثير من طلاب الدراسات العليا الناطقين بغير العربية دراساتهم في مجال الأدب العربي. لذلك تظهر مشكلة البحث ابتداء من هذه المسألة. الأهداف: بيان العوامل الرئيسة التي تؤدي إلى عزوف طلبة الدراسات العليا عن مواصلة دراستهم في مجال الأدب حسب وجهة نظر الطالب والمحاضر، ثم إعداد الاقتراحات التي تساهم في زيادة الوعي الأكاديمي بالأدب العربي لدى طلبة الدراسات العليا. فكما قلت سابقا نحن عملنا وزعنا الاستبانة إلى 68 طالبا من 4 جامعات محلية في ماليزيا، من جامعة الإسلامية العالمية UIAM، جامعة السلطان زين العابدين يونيزا، وكذلك جامعة العلوم الإسلامية الماليزية يوسيم، وكذلك جامعتنا يعني جامعة يوني شمس. طيب، هناك العديد من المشكلات التي يواجهها الطلاب الناطقون بغير العربية في تعلم اللغة العربية، وخاصة في مجال الأدب العربي مثل الشعر والنثر. ورأي الباحثين في هذا الموضوع أن هناك العديد من العوامل الرئيسة تمثل سببا حقيقيا في مشكلة دراسة الأدب العربي من طلاب الناطقين بغير العربية في مرحلة الدراسات العليا. من بينها موقع اللغة العربية في المرتبة الثالثة بعد اللغة الأم، واللغة الثانية يجعل الأمر صعبا على الطلاب ليتذوقوا الأدب العربي ويربطوه بحياتهم اليومية. ولذلك نرى أن كثيرا من الطلاب في ماليزيا لا يفهمون ولا يتعمقون في الأدب العربي إلا قليلا، وذلك لأن لغتهم الأولى هي الملايوية وتليها اللغة الإنجليزية، وهذا العامل يجعل الأمر صعبا على المعلمين في إيجاد طريقة مؤثرة، ومن ثم يفهم الطالب الأدب العربي فهما جيدا. من بين العوامل الأخرى التي أصبحت عقبة أمام فاعلية تعلم الأدب العربي بين الناطقين بغير العربية اعتقاد الطلاب بصعوبة الأدب لظنهم أنه يركز فقط على الشعر. فمن العوامل التي أدت إلى عزوف الطلاب الناطقين بغير عربية عن إجراء البحوث في مجال الأدب العربي تشمل الشعر والنثر والنقد الأدبي على مستوى الماجستير والدكتوراه موضحة في الجدول أدناه. طيب، هذه الاستبانة مكتوبة باللغة الماليزية، ونحن وزعنا هذه الاستبانة إلى 68 طالبا في 4 جامعات محلية في ماليزيا. هذا مجرد نموذج أو باختصار شديد. طيب، 4 فئات تؤثر على الطلاب الذين يدرسون الأدب العربي. أولا، عوامل طرق التدريس المستخدمة في تدريس الأدب العربي. ثانيا، المواد العلمية المستخدمة. ثالثا، الطلاب الذين يدرسون الأدب العربي. ورابعا، المعلمون الذين يقومون بتدريس الأدب العربي. باختصار شديد، في طرق التدريس سألنا الطلاب عن طرق تدريس المواد الأدبية، هل هي مناسبة لمستوى الطلاب أم ماذا؟ فإجابتهم نقول عوامل في طرق تدريس الأدب العربي تساهم في عزوف طلبة الدراسات العليا الناطقين بغير العربية عن مواصلة دراستهم في هذا المجال، على الرغم من أنهم اتفقوا في البداية على أن الأساليب المستخدمة عند التدريس وتقديم المواد العلمية كانت مناسبة، فقد اتفقوا أيضا على أن الأساليب الحالية بحاجة إلى التحسين، لأن الطريقة المستخدمة غير مقبولة أو غير مناسبة تماما من وجهة نظر الطالب. ولذلك يجب على المحاضر أو المعلم التعرف على التطبيقات التقنية المناسبة لاستخدامها في التدريس والتعلم. طيب، الفئة الثانية تكلمنا عن عوامل المادة العلمية، فمن بين الأسئلة الموجودة هي هل هي مناسبة لمستوى الطلاب؟ فيتفق غالبية الطلاب على أن النصوص المختارة المستخدمة مناسبة لتدريس الطلاب، لكن يتفق الباقون أيضا على وجود أوجه قصور في المنهج الذي يتم تدريسه. فهذا يعني أن المواد المستخدمة لا تزال تتطلب البحث لتكون أكثر ملائمة للطلاب، بالإضافة إلى استيفاء الشروط الإلزامية المطلوبة للأغراض التعليمية. الفئة الثالثة المشكلات لدى الطلاب نفسه. كثير منهم عندهم النظرة السلبية للأدب العربي التي تزعم أنه لا يمكن استخدامه أو تطبيقه في عالم المهنة لاحقا. إذن هذه المشكلة. طيب، وجدت الدراسة أن غالبية الطلاب الناطقين بغير العربية لديهم نظرة سلبية، يعني ليست إيجابية، للأدب العربي بافتراض أنه لا يمكن ممارسته. بالإضافة إلى ذلك تظهر البيانات أيضا أن هناك نسبة كبيرة من عدد الطلاب يثبت أن الطلاب لا يرغبون في التسجيل في الدراسات العليا في مجال الأدب العربي بسبب ضعف الإجادة في اللغة العربية، حيث لا يمكنهم فهم الأدب العربي جيدا، لأنه يتطلب عملية فهم أعلى من الفهم الحرفي.
Excuse me, Mr. Shauki, what slides are you talking about? You can give instruction to the operator, because I hope to suitable what do you say or what do you speak with the slides. Okay, thank you.
Okay, now I in slide 21. 21. Yeah, this one. Okay. بالإضافة إلى ذلك تظهر البيانات أيضا أن هناك نسبة كبيرة من عدد الطلاب يثبت أن الطلاب لا يرغبون في التسجيل في الدراسات العليا في مجال الأدب العربي بسبب ضعف الإجادة في اللغة العربية، حيث لا يمكنهم فهم الأدب العربي جيدا، لأنه يتطلب عملية فهم أعلى من الفهم الحرفي. فهذه أكبر عقبة يواجهها الطلاب في محاولة فهم النصوص الأدبية، فلا يكفي الفهم الحرفي للنصوص الأدبية وحدها، وإنما يجب فهم النص بشكل ديناميكي وشامل. Next. Okay. من بين نتائج البحث التي تم التوصل إليها تقديم الدورات التدريبية وورش العمل التي تشرح أهمية وضرورة دراسة الأدب العربي، ويحتاج المعلمون أيضا إلى استخدام طرق تدريس ليست تقليدية ولكنها حديثة وخلاقة عند تدريس الأدب. Okay, next. استخدام طرق التدريس الإبداعية والمبتكرة لخلق الرغبة لدى الطلاب لدراسة المواد الأدبية على مستوى الدراسات العليا. يحتاج هذا المنهج أيضا إلى المراجعة من خلال توفير محتوى يناسب خصائص الطلاب غير ناطقين بالعربية وعاداتهم واهتماماتهم. Okay, next. إن محتوى الأدب الذي يتم تدريسه في المدارس الثانوية والدراسات الأساسية في حاجة ماسة إلى إرشاد المتسربين من المدارس لمواصلة دراستهم على مستوى أعلى في مجال الدراسات العربية والإسلامية. وأخيرا، يلعب الأدب دورا مهما في تشكيل وعي الطلاب لفهم لغة أجنبية وخاصة العربية، مما يزيد من تكوين تقدير ديني جيد بين الطلاب، لأن اللغة العربية هي أيضا لغة الدين والقرآن. أيها الحفل الكريم، walau bagaimanapun, jujur saya mengatakan bahawa berkemungkinan dapatan kajian ini sebenarnya tidaklah tepat 100%, tidaklah tepat 100%, karena kajian ini hanya berlegar pada isu tenaga pengajar, pelajar dan juga bahan pengajaran. Padahal sebenarnya terdapat banyak lagi faktor-faktor lain yang menyebabkan pelajar-pelajar tidak berminat untuk membuat kajian dalam bidang sastra Arab. di peringkat pasca siswazah, iaitu kelemahan penguasaan bahasa Arab itu sendiri. Ini kerana suasana keliling sebenarnya tidak membantu. Berbeza dengan perhatian lebih yang diberikan kepada bahasa Inggeris. Kami di Malaysia semenjak kecil memang telah didedahkan dengan kartun dan rancangan televisyen berbahasa Inggeris. Channel radio juga banyak yang berbahasa Inggeris. Malahan iklan-iklan ataupun pengumuman di mall-mall juga dalam bahasa Inggeris. Dokumen-dokumen rasmi dan sulit juga banyak menggunakan bahasa Inggeris. Saya bukan anti bahasa Inggeris. Tidak. Malah saya juga berbahasa Inggeris. Tapi sayangnya, pendekatan terhadap bahasa Arab sangat kurang. Tiada rancangan TV berbahasa Arab, sama ada drama ataupun filem ataupun kartun. Begitu juga dengan wawancara. Manakala berita dalam bahasa Arab hanya sekali dalam seminggu. Itu pun tidak bertahan lama. Begitu juga di radio, rancangan pengajaran bahasa Arab sangat singkat dan terbatas. Maka pelajar-pelajar hanya belajar mendengar, belajar membaca, belajar bertutur, belajar menulis dalam bahasa Arab dalam ruang waktu yang sangat singkat. Sama ada di sekolah ataupun di universiti. Hanya di kawasan sekolah dan dalam kampus, dan akhirnya para pelajar ini masih ketandusan ataupun kekurangan perbendaharaan kata dalam bahasa Arab. Lalu bagaimana mungkin mereka ini akan meminati bidang bahasa Arab? Justru itu, saya berpandangan bahawa permasalahan ini sebenarnya masih jauh lagi daripada penyelesaiannya selagi tiada campur tangan pihak yang berautoriti, iaitu kerajaan, khasnya Kementerian Pendidikan, dalam menentukan dasar keutamaan terhadap bahasa Arab ini. Pihak kerajaan sebenarnya mempunyai autoriti dalam memberikan penekanan dan perhatian yang lebih, iaitu dengan memperkasakan kemahiran guru-guru, memberikan masa yang lebih kepada aktiviti pengajaran dan pembelajaran bahasa Arab. Lalu begitu juga dengan memberikan galakan dan keistimewaan kepada mereka yang boleh berbahasa Arab, membawa masuk rancangan-rancangan TV dari negara-negara Arab, begitu juga dengan radio. Jadi hari ini anak-anak kami di Malaysia lebih mengenali artis-artis Hollywood, Bollywood, artis-artis Korea. Mereka lebih banyak menonton rancangan TV Jepun, China, Thailand, Filipina, Turki, dan juga Indonesia. Tetapi malangnya kebanyakan mereka tidak kenal langsung dengan mana-mana tokoh ataupun individu-individu terkemuka dari negara-negara Arab. Oleh itu saya tegaskan sekali lagi bahawa campur tangan pihak kerajaan sangat penting dalam isu penguasaan bahasa Arab ini, sekaligus membantu untuk meningkatkan jumlah peminat kajian dalam bidang sastra Arab ini. Aktafi bihadzal qadr. I apologize for any shortcomings and thank you for your kind attention. Panjang umur, kita akan bertemu lagi insyaAllah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Amin. Okay, thank you, Mr. Syauqi, for the awesome presentation. To be honest, I am one of the people that couldn't speak Arabic language. And from this presentation, I'm going to learn Arabic language. Yes. Okay, well, the point of the material is to highlight the issue of non-native Arabic-speaking postgraduate students being hesitant to conduct research in the field of research. It brings attention to the potential barriers and challenges the students may face in pursuing their academic interest in a language that is not their first language, but the government has the rule to improve the society to learn Arabic language. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, now we will invite our last speaker.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to invite our last speaker in the first main session, yeah, because later on after the first main session, we will have the second main session. Okay, please stay tuned, yeah. Our last speaker in the first main session is Bapak Wahid Nasruddin, PhD. He is the head of Arabic language and literature department of Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab, IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. And he will talk about the role of higher education institutions in the field of language and literature. So without any further ado, please welcome Mr. Wahid. And Mr. Wahid, you have 20 minutes to talk. So do you want me to share the screen or?
Yes, please.
All right. Okay, wait a second. I'm sorry. Can you please share the PowerPoint to my
I
number?
sent it to you. I sent it to you in the chat box.
In chat box.
Yep.
In Zoom room or WhatsApp?
Here in Zoom meeting.
Okay, wait a second. Where is it?
Would you like to share?
Can you please send it to my WhatsApp number, Pak?
Okay, I can just share it from here, okay?
Oh yeah, okay, thank you, Pak. I'm so sorry.
Okay, wait a second. Okay, thank you very much, Anna, and Honorable the Dean of Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, Dr. Willem Cleghorn, sorry if I say it wrongly, Professor Didin Nurul Roshidin, and Dr. Muhammad Shauki Arshad, how are you? And also my friend Gumilar Irfanullah. Okay, so rather than I don't know, I'm not going to deliver materials in which I share my research, but rather I'd like to question. This is about questioning the innovation for research in Islamic higher education and how can we define the job. I think this is really basic because we can do many things doing research, but how can we actually match with the job that we are going to do? So here I have at least two questions to raise for us, all of us. And the background is, the first is the current era of globalization and increased accountability are changing the ways in which universities all over the world do business. This is from Christensen. Professor Clayton Christensen from Harvard Business School has talked about how the university has really changed because of some or many changes in the world, including the technology development. And that's what make really important for university to rethink the role of the university. And the second issue is the movement or the presence of an autonomous do-it-yourself society, which everyone, according to Andrew Peter Lyon, essentially a researcher and proletarian autodidact. So we can see that people no longer come to college, come to school, and do studying in universities. I mean, in terms of coming to the buildings, university, but people now can learn everywhere, anywhere. YouTube probably, for example, is the most widely used for people to learn or to study. We can do anything. Small examples is maybe when you face problem in your home and then you need to do something, you want to repair a machine or something. The first thing to do is maybe to check YouTube and whether you can do it by yourself rather than calling an expert. So the changing way of this people way of doing something or learning something really challenge university and how to integrate this the presence of autodidact into the university learning. So and also the third issue is, I think, the the academics in my study, my self-study, English language learning, academics are afraid to question what they know and do, and even they do not trust their own question. So when research is needed and they have to ask question, the researcher are afraid to question, and they goes back to traditional question, which are actually have been questioned by other people. So what's interesting from Professor Clayton Christensen is he developed the job to be done to better understand what jobs there are to be done. So this is things that I want to raise in this seminar, that, well, when we talk about innovation, when we talk about research and we want to progress, but do we know about the job to be done? So Christensen's research was based on the observation that companies which were widely regarded as successful over time lost their share of the market or completely disappeared. So big companies like, what is it, a long time ago, we have Sony as a smartphone producer, and now Sony is not moving away from smartphone and move to different market. And for example, Samsung, which was not popular in developing cell phone, is now, well, the king of the market. So Christensen's conclusion is that it is not understanding the customer that is the fundamental unit of analysis in understanding and planning for success. Instead, it is what he calls the job to be done that is the purpose of the company. And Christensen wants to move this business theory into university, what the university should do. So question of interrogating this, what jobs are, is number one, what is the fundamental job or problem the customer is facing? So we need to rethink about the political, functional, emotional, and social problematic. What are there? And then the next question is, what are the experiences in purchase and use which, if all provided, would sum up to nailing the job perfectly? And what are the product attributes, technologies, features that are needed to provide these experiences? This is from Christensen, in which now we should think in our own context is, what does the job of strengthening studies, research, and innovation in the field of Islamic studies, language, and literature? This is the theme that in the conference, in our seminar, right? So we need to think about this. And then the second is, what experiences need to be provided for the job of strengthening studies, research, and innovation in the fields of Islamic studies, language, and literature. We need to collect data about this. It's a kind of need analysis in preparing our university to understand the job of our university. And for our individual, maybe the faculty members, the academic staffs, we have to also rethink what has been achieved in the area of your responsibility for strengthening studies, research, and innovation in the fields of Islamic studies, language, and literature. So the first three questions really really basic foundation for for growing Islamic education, Islamic higher education. And this is an example. And we talk about innovation. Innovation should have certain standards. And Lion and Pertiwi has talked about a framework for designing or innovation in educational research or other research actually. Number one is the object of the study. What new perspectives were engaged to describe the object of study? So how can we see from different angles when we want to design a research? We have to see from different angles, not from only one single point of view. And the next is the method of study. What new understandings were identified to devise the method of investigation? For example, to understand what is it? What people have in their minds about a certain issue, we can do interview, and the analysis will be using how do you say that? Word counter, which shows what is the most important topic for them. And we can also use a different platform for analyzing the data, which has not been used by other researcher. And the beneficiaries of the study also important. So this is not only about, well, I don't know, but in my study, I saw that the researcher just focus on their own interests. They just think about their own interests, which make the participants of the study often neglected. So I have some evidences in my own study when I'm the head of Arabic language and literature department, but I actually major in my main research is in English language education. So that's what I'm a little bit talking about. So that's the beneficiary study. And we also asked for the critical perspectives. How was the world integrated into the study? When we study the language, when we study literature, we do not just talk about language itself or literature itself, but how about the world situated in the research? For example, we have research here in our department, in Arabic language and literature department, about the old script that coming from some kingdoms in Cirebon. So we can see that how the world of ancient Islamic culture is integrated in our study and try to reborn the what is it, the richness of their scientific knowledge. So that's the critical perspective. And the political perspective is also important. How were the policies integrated into the study? So in Indonesia, we have an issue, Merdeka Belajar or Kampus Merdeka, which is new here. And rather than trying to reject the new policy, it's very interesting to take the politics into perspective of research and how can we integrate it, how can we integrate the new policy into our study. And the generative perspective is also not an exception. I mean, what new forms of practice emerge as a result of the new ways of theorizing? So how can we see what's new from our research is from the result? Does the result of our research can bring new forms of practice, or we can just stay it's just a finding like finding? Okay, so I think that's my presentation. My presentation is just asking to our own about what is the job of our university and what kind of innovation that can be developed in our research. I think that's all for me, Anna.
Yeah, okay. I will handle to this session again. Thank you, Mr. Wahid, for the benefit presentation. And well,
Is Rani there?
Okay, I will take over again.
Hello.
Hello, Burani. Are you
Okay.
still there?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm here. Okay, through the seminar, we encourage and invite all the participants and to active engage in the discussion, ask question, and share their talk in the last session. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, the next session will be handled by Mrs. Anna Humatiana. She is the lectures of Islamic Communication Department, IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon. And also, I will say to all the participant speakers and a committee, because there are so many mistakes that I face in this first section. Okay, and thank you all the speakers and participants for your valuable contribution to this first section of this international seminar. I'm Mustafa, must step down from my role as the moderator for this session. I apologize for any inconvenience with my guest. Welcome, Mrs.
Okay, thank you very much, Bu Mutahirani Mustafa, and she has a very cute little baby. Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As introduced earlier, my name is Anna Humadiana, and I will be the moderator for the second main session of today's seminar. And in this second main session, we will focus more on the field of Islamic studies, and we have two distinguished speakers here. Professor Haji Didin Nurul Rosidin, MA, PhD. Good morning, Professor Didin.
Good morning, Anna.
Okay.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, sir. And the next speaker is Mr. Gumila Irfanullah, MSc. Good morning, Pak Gumila.
Good morning, Anna.
Okay, thank you. Right, now I would like to introduce our fourth speaker, who is Professor Didin Nurul Rosidin, MA, PhD. So Professor Didin was born in Kuningan on the 4th of April, 1973. He obtained his bachelor degree in Hadith Tafsir from IAIN Wali Songo, Indonesia in 1996. And in 2000, he obtained his master's degree in theology and literature from Leiden University, the Netherlands. And in 2007, he obtained his PhD in Islamic social history from Leiden University too. Well, he is very passionate in Islamic studies, especially history of Islamic civilization. He has a lot of work and research about it. And right now, Professor Didin is still active teaching at the Department of History of Islamic Civilization. Well, that was a brief introduction, of Professor Didin. So without any further ado, let's listen to Professor Didin's presentation entitled Toward a Research-Based University for about 20 minutes. Okay, Professor Didin, the time is yours.
Thank you. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillahilladzi hadana li hadza wa ma kunna linahtadiya laula an hadanallah. Asyhadu an la ilaha illallah wahdahu la syarika lah wa asyhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh. Allahumma salli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in, amma ba'd. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Anwar Sanusi as the Dean of our faculty for inviting me personally for this first international seminar. And of course, I would like to thank also to the committee for giving me a chance for presenting my ideas about IAIN, PTKIN, as you could say. And and then I would like to say welcome to Professor Willem Cleghorn. It's nice to meet you for the first time. Hope that we can meet in Bandung sometime. And then Professor Muhammad Shauki bin Arshad for having been here. It's nice to meet you. Unfortunately, when I came to Malaysia, I didn't meet you. Maybe if I know you before, we can be there for a small chat, right? And then all the audience, Today I would like to present my thought, actually, not research, but the ideas toward research-based university challenges and opportunities in relation to our campus, especially. You can go to the next slide, Anna. Okay. Okay. What I can think, so long I have been working, maybe for 25 years I have been looking at lectures. I could conclude that research is not only about finding something new, right? But it's about setting up a new culture and society in general way. We can learn, for example, from Europeans how they develop research through universities for more than 10 centuries. When we look at our country, Indonesian have been introduced in research following the introduction of higher education in the early 20th century. And so it's still new, actually, compared to European universities, and become more serious after the independence, when a number of new universities set up, such as Universitas Islam Indonesia in Yogyakarta, UGM, ITB, UI, and others. How about Islamic higher schools or higher learnings? Islamic higher schools that were founded as early as 1960s have been, in fact, actively in research in 1980s or 1990s. So it's still very new anyway. Okay. And those facts show where we are and how academic life is, but without undermining our so far hard efforts. Okay, next to the next slide. The idea for having an independently Islamic higher learning had been promoted a decade before the independence, but failed to come to reality due to a number of reasons. One of them was the invasion of the Japan colonial power in early 1940s. So the idea of having Islamic higher school have been launched by some Muslim figures before independence, but they failed to do that. Yeah. Islamic high school or Sekolah Tinggi Islam to be the first but private higher Islamic higher learning institution, only founded in 1945, maybe just 2 or 3 months before independence in Jakarta. And unfortunately, STI of Jakarta was short-lived anyway, as it was with other newly founded STI, as in fact of the fusion into single entity under the banner of Indonesian Islamic Universities in 1948, in which 4 faculties were set up, including Faculty of Religious Studies, Faculty of Law, Faculty of Economics, and Faculty of Education. Let's go to the next slide, Anna, because we have very short time, right? Okay. And in 1950s, under the strong support of a number of prominent Muslim leaders, the government, through the Ministry of Religious Affairs, took over the Faculty of Religious Studies of University Islam Indonesia and transformed it into first state-owned Islamic high school. So again, we see that the ideas of having this kind of higher learning is new compared to, for example, in other words, including in America, as Professor William Cleghorn had underlined in the first presentation. And yet more serious steps were undertaken as early as in 1960s, when government launched 2 Islamic State Institute, or IAIN, in Yogyakarta and Jakarta respectively. So again, we see that in this era, still we have seen that only limited places that we can see Islamic higher learning. So for example, in Cirebon, we cannot see that at that time, right? So still, those ideas are restricted in certain areas in Indonesia. Interestingly, in the initial steps, both IAIN opened not only Faculty of Islamic Studies, but also secular ones, including Faculty of Pedagogy, or Technology, and Ethnology, and Sociology, and of Law and Economics. This is interesting, you know. when we see in the next years that non-religious departments was closed down, and only left two departments, Islamic education and Arabic teaching. Here we saw a dichotomous approach taken by the government. So they would like to separate between secular subject, secular faculties, and religious faculties. And since the beginning, the foundation of those IAIN was designed to provide new Muslim preachers instead of Muslim scholars with certain standard. We see that the main idea of having those kind of higher learnings is to provide Muslim preachers instead of Muslim scholars. So we cannot see, for example, the spirit of academic, the spirit of research in our standard. Yeah. Methodologically, approaches to subject studies were dogmatic and textual. So they just learn what previous ulama said about something. So just learn that, and they transfer from one generation to one generation without any critical question why it should be like it and why should be said like that. Moreover, in the field of curriculum, both IAIN adopted Al-Azhar University model, focusing only on religious subjects. Let's go to the next slide, Anna. Yeah, maybe IAIN as Adaka, we see that in 1970s there was changing, of course, especially with the arrival of two figures, Professor Harun Nasution and Professor Mukti Ali. Both of them graduate from Canada University, McGill University. So maybe with this mind, we can see that they will took some radical changes, radical approaches in their own institution respectively. For example, they introduced new subject of Islamic studies along with new approaches. In the past, philosophy was absent, totally absent from subject studies. But when Professor Harun Nasution and Mukti arrived and become rector, they introduced this subject, of course, with a lot of kind of controversies and objection and resistance for all part of Muslim leaders. Critical thinking in elaborating some religious sensitive issues are stressed. I mean, this is new ways of learning and researching Islamic subjects. Of course, again, I should underline that there were controversies among Muslim scholars, Muslim ulama, reacting to this kind of approaches. To strengthen the nation, both rectors set up postgraduate programs in which young lecturers as well as fresh graduate training. Both graduate or postgraduate programs and headquarters of the Western-based universities alumni give more impetus for the improvement of research culture in Islamic higher learning institution. So I could say that only in 1980s and 1970s and maybe more in 2000s that we see a lot of young lecturers graduating from postgraduate program in IAIN Yogyakarta and IAIN Jakarta, as well as those alumni from Western University, took serious research, serious steps to do research on Islamic subject. Okay, let's go to the next slide, Anna. Okay, so at the same time, we see that the Ministry of Religious Affairs under the tutelage of Professor Munawir Sajari, who was also graduated from United Kingdom, shows strong support to this notion by setting up special program called pre-departure program, in which dozens of fresh graduates sent to study Islamic studies, not in Middle Eastern university as being done before, but to Western universities. And Professor Munawir Sajali personally talked to me in one session that why I should send those graduates to Western universities instead of to Middle Eastern university, not to be secularized, not to learn Islam anyway, but to learn methodology, how to do research seriously. Okay, So the government in the next step through MORA continues to play pivotal roles in mainstreaming research culture in pedagogy circles in number of rules, policies, including financial sports. Until now, we see, for example, the Takdimas play pivotal role in expanding, the subject studies done by IAIN lectures, as well as today I heard that there are also some scholarship given not only to lectures but to fresh graduate to do abroad, for example. Okay, let's go to the next slide. But we have to be aware that there are some challenges faced by us in terms of developing research-based culture in our university. The first one, of course, financial shortages. We cannot, compare, for example, for one research only 10 or even less, maybe million, to do very serious research. And second is the lack of international funded networks. And although we have seen also some improvement in number of universities like Yogyakarta and Jakarta, they have been able to work hand in hand with other partners abroad. But in the case of Cirebon, we are still very lack and still very minimum. The lack of cooperation with outside institutions, both government and private sectors as well. Here also the problems faced by our university. And the next is the research topic are outdated. We have seen that the topic, of research done by our lecturers outdated. They just focus what Mr. Wahid Nasruddin said. They just focus on their own subject. For example, when they own about Quranic exegesis, they just concentrate on Quranic exegesis without trying to make relevant with many questions coming of new generation. And the next problem is a battleground of different and even conflict notion among lectures within PKN, those graduating from Western, Middle Eastern, and even local universities. There are many accusations and allegations that those graduating from Western try to provoke Muslim to do, for example, to be secular or liberal or whatever. At the same time, when those graduating from Middle Eastern universities was alleged as those promoting, for example, extremism, Wahhabism, and etc. And those kind of problems that we face in our university. And another problem that we have seen so far is internal and public expectation. For years, people see IAIN as producer of Muslim preachers. So they expect that those graduating from IAIN should be preacher. They should perform, for example, Jumat prayers every week, for example. When they are unable to do that, they just say, oh, no, you are not graduate from IAIN, or you are not underdeveloped, or whatever they would say. I would like to say about you when you cannot, for example, perform Jumat sermon, for example. Here is the phase is the fact that we have to challenge ourselves that at the same time when we do research very seriously with those kind of theories, but at the same time when we go back to our society, they just ask to lead prayer, for example, tahlilan, Jumat sermon, and others. Let's go to the next slide. Okay, but of course we still have some opportunities, non-dichotomous policies in terms of faculties and subject learning, along with what so-called wider mother rules following the transformation from level of institute into fully fledged university, as those early enjoyed by Jakarta, Yogyakarta, Malang, before rapidly spread through other PTKI in other parts in this country. And we hope that our campus will transfer to full-fledged university in this year, so we can apply more rules in strengthening our research culture, yeah, in our institution. Young but talented as well as well-trained lecturers, along with their variety of educational training background. Also, we have seen, like we have seen Professor Nasruddin, for example, he had been trained in Australia, and his partner Lala Bumela also trained in Australia and others. They will play an important role in strengthening research culture in our campus. Of course, we cannot neglect, for example, Anna, yeah, as our moderator. Of course, we have seen how fluent English she has, for example, and this is of course helpful in enlarging and strengthening research culture in our university. And at the same time, enhancing research or research-based community services through webomatic and others. So we have seen also that in the current time, IAIN and other PTKM play important roles how to, to do research as the best for community services. In the past, maybe community services just how to give sermon, yeah, weekly or annually, but now community services not only through such kind of activities, but we can also do through research, yeah. Better image and reputation and both in Indonesia and abroad. And we are happy, that in the last decade, IAIN graduate as well as lecturer are very popular among scholars, not only in Indonesia, but also abroad. We have, for example, Burhanuddin Muhtadi. In the maybe 2 or 3 decades before, when we talk about politics, we will refer to a lecture of why Universitas Indonesia, for example. When we talk about education, we will refer to UPI Bandung. But now we have seen a lot of scholars, a lot of lectures and researchers graduating and coming from IAIN. They can talk about politics. They can talk about social problems. Yeah, very confidently. Yeah. And then we have also been, our lectures, our young, especially language, they are well equipped in theories and methodologies. As we have seen, for example, in the presentation of Mr. Wahid Nasruddin this morning, how good he is, in terms of theories and methodologies. And we will see also Mr. Gumilar graduating not only from Middle East, but also from University of Indonesia, will keep also new horizon of how we use theory and methodology in our research. And the last one, I would like to underline that when we talk about Islamic studies, we talk about very rich themes, yeah, to be explored, as Islam is the fastest growth religion on earth. So we are very optimistic that we can play important role in developing research culture in our campus through many things. First, through developing new theories and methodologies. And second, we can also share new ideas about many issues related to Islam in this era, yeah, and in the following era. Thank you very much, Anna, for giving me a session to present my ideas about how to bring our campus, especially IAIN Cirebon, to be world-class university based on research. Thank you very much, Anna.
Okay, thank you, Professor Didin. That was a wonderful presentation and very fruitful. I've got a lot of insights from Professor Didin's presentations, and I just hope that PTKIN, yeah, the Islamic higher education institutions can find new ways of learning and teaching Islamic subjects, especially those that are categorized as sensitive issues. Yeah, but unfortunately, it seems that we have some challenges, yeah, Pak, yeah, such as one of the challenges that you mentioned. It was the lack of cooperation with outside institutions, both from the government and also from the private sectors. So yeah, we just hope that it can be better soon. Okay, now the next presentation will come from Mr. Gumila Irfanullah. Hello, Mr. Gumila Irfanullah.
Hello, Anna.
Okay, so all right, ladies and gentlemen, now we are moving on to the last but not least speaker, who is Mr. Gumilar Irfanullah, MSc. But before that, please allow me to read his curriculum vitae, a brief of curriculum vitae. Mr. Gumilar Irfanullah, MSc, was born in Majalengka on the 27th of March, 1989. He obtained his bachelor degree in philosophy and theology from Al-Azhar University, Egypt in 2013, and in 2018, he obtained his master's degree in Middle Eastern Studies from Universitas Indonesia, which is the University of Indonesia. And now he is a lecturer at IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, Indonesia. Besides teaching at the Department of History of Islamic Civilization, Mr. Gumilar is interested in doing research on Islamic history and Middle Eastern studies. Okay, that was a brief introduction of Mr. Gumilar. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to invite Mr. Gumilar to be on screen to deliver his presentation for about 20 minutes. Mr. Gumilar, the time is yours.
Thank you, Anna. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bismillah walhamdulillah. Wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi at-tayyibin at-tahirin wa ashabihi mayamin. Honorable Bapak Anwar Sanusi as Dean of Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab, and Bapak William Cleghorn, it's honor, sir. Welcome to our campus, our college. Tasharafna aydan al-Ustaz Dr. Muhammad Shawki Arshad, ahlan wa sahlan bikum fi Cirebon. And to my mentor and my teacher, especially Professor Dr. Didin Rosidin. In this presentation, I would like to focus on several topics about Islamic studies. Is there any share screen, Hannah?
Okay, wait a second, sir.
All right. So I will try to present on topic in Islamic studies in universities between holding to tradition and facing contemporary challenges. So my focus is, I think that this is important to discuss because I came from Department of History and Islamic Civilization, and I would like to highlight the historical accounts to to know somehow how Islamic studies are developing in the future. So historically, Islamic studies in the Muslim world have tended to be some kind of normative and dogmatic in nature. The aim is to strengthen the ideological foundation of Muslim students. However, there are several Islamic universities that have the courage and bravery to make several leaps and reformation and renewal in Islamic studies, as was done by Al-Azhar Al-Sharif, that I was graduate from Al-Azhar Al-Sharif in Egypt, Cairo. Al-Azhar, as we know, that it very old university in Islamic world that was founded in 10th century, I suppose, and now become the center for Islamic studying, mostly from Sunni countries to study Islamic studies in several branches. A student from around the world came to Cairo, came to Egypt to study Islamic science. So I will discuss the journey of Islamic studies in Al-Azhar Al-Sharif, also in Indonesia after that, especially in Islamic universities in IAIN and UIN. Finally, based on this previous data on historical account, I will highlight some of the opportunities and challenges that we need to look in the future of Islamic studies in Indonesia. So Al-Azhar Al-Sharif pointed out that the aspect of reform in Islamic studies must be guarded by its figure, by its scholar, by its ulama, with the help So not enough with the help of support and authorities, institutions, governments, parties in this country. So the reform has to supporting from the ulama itself. So in Al-Azhar experience, Hasan Al-Attar, for example, Hasan Al-Attar is one of the figure of Al-Azhar Sharif, Al-Azhar scholar, who started the reform wheel. Al-Attar invites to leave the stagnation of thinking. يعني هو يدعو إلى ترك الجمود في الفكر. He support an open attitude toward modern social sciences, as well as traditional Islamic sciences. So Hasan Al-Attar دعا إلى تجديد العلوم الدينية الإسلامية بمؤازرتها بالعلوم الاجتماعية والعلوم الطبيعية الأخرى. This he did by approaching French scientists while Napoleon Bonaparte was in Egypt in 19th century. Two of his students, namely At-Tahtawi wa At-Tantawi, continued this spirit in later times. So what Al-Azhar did to reform Islamic studies? For what I read in Al-Azhar Sharif history, Al-Azhar take advantage of closeness to the authorities, of course. It is done by Hasan Al-Attar to get close to the Napoleon army and Napoleon scientists. Al-Azhar also did strong scholarly and intellectual tradition in the institution. The fertility of intellectual tradition among lecturers, teachers, teachings, methodologies. So Al-Azhar also built heterogeneous knowledge in institution. So support from authorities can also provide its own benefits, as was done by Al-Azhar Sheikh Hasan Al-Attar, who had much support from the ruler of Egypt at that time, Muhammad Ali Pasha. Yes. With this support, Al-Azhar develops many aspects of reform and renewal in Islamic studies and the integration in natural scientific science into the University of Al-Azhar. However, closeness to power must be supported by a strong intellectual tradition in educational institution itself, because the intervention of the authorities, governments, you can say, can lead to ideological intervention, methodological and direction of the reform in the field of education. So at Al-Azhar, the scientific tradition is already very strong, that the relationship between Al-Azhar and the authorities and government is only focused on strengthening academic, financial, and a more advanced aspect of infrastructure development, not intervention in changing methodologies, not intervention in changing direction of Islamic studies itself. So in several historic accounts of Al-Azhar Sharif, they did the unique thing. Al-Azhar, in the exam, for example, the students are tested to become a lecturer, while the lecturer acts as a student. This method was supported by the authorities at the time, Khadim Ismail. So lecturers assess student mastery of material and pedagogic skill directly in the class. In order to motivate students to take action on reform and renewal in Islamic studies, the student must have a courage and bravery in their emotion, in intellectual, to give speech, to give their ideas in front of their lecturers and ulama. So methods of strengthening knowledge and pedagogic aspect like this might be applicable to current learning methods. To measure student academic ability, it's necessary to know the extent of their mastery of the material they have received so far in the classroom. This method also opens space for students who have hidden ideas about Islamic studies to be expressed freely in front of their ulama or their lecturers. So in Al-Azhar, مشايخ عرفنا مشايخ الازهر الشريف وحتى الان عرفنا الشيخ احمد العالم العلامه احمد الطيب كشيخ من الازهر، وهناك مشايخ يعني في القديم في التاريخ. ومنهم الشيخ محمد عبده. Abduh is well known as the Mujaddid wa Musleh, a reformer and renewal of Islamic studies in Egypt, and his influences spread across the world until Indonesia. So Muhammad Abduh said that student must have a hobby of reading and writing. This is important for the basic of effort to take an reformation and renewal of Islamic studies. So integrating elements of other sciences into Islamic studies, such as history, geography, urban planning, social sciences, to Islamic studies. Abduh also encouraged students to dare to write in newspaper or public newspaper at that time. So Abduh not only campaigned for his reform ideas for Al-Azhar students, but also invited them to actively contribute to enriching the renewal discourse in newspaper and mass media at the time. So this campaign was well executed by the brilliant students of Abduh later time, such as Fahim Kindil, who published Ukaz magazine weekly, probably, and Al-Barquqi, the most famous and well-known of his by Al-Bayan al-magazine, and also Hasan As-Sandubi, who initiated two magazines, Al-Jawanib wa As-Samarat monthly. And of course, Sayyid Rashid Ridho, والذي عرفناه كمجدد ومصلح بعد محمد عبده أستاذه يعني. So what Al-Azhar did in reform Islamic studies is toward adab, humaniora, toward al-ulum al-adabiyya, literature. So adab is a door to future reform in Islamic studies. Al-Azhar scholars do not only focus on traditional Islamic studies, I suppose, but also study many aspects of classical literature, Jahiliyah, Sadrul Islam, في العصر الأوائل في العصر الأموي والعباسي. So studying literature helped the scholars and thinkers of Al-Azhar in forming a rich intellectual tradition. So this renewal and this reform carriage was escorted by an Al-Azhar scholar and writer, the famous Syekh Sayyid Al-Marsafi, the poet Al-Adib والشاعر المشهور في الأزهر. So Al-Marsafi is a scholar who is an expert in the field of language, linguistics, and literature. It was from Al-Marsafi that Greek Egyptian literature figures of the caliber of Muhyiddin Abdul Hamid later on, Taha Hussein, Mustafa Al-Manfaluti, الشهير, وأحمد الشاكر, حسن صندوبي, أحمد أمين أيضا, وأحمد حسن زيات وما إلى ذلك من الأدباء والشعراء في المشهورين يعني أنا ذاك. So I think what Al-Azhar did to gain reformation and renewal in Islamic studies is that to support the openness, to open the ijtihad, to initiate the dissolution of the taqlid tradition. Taqlid, yani, how to say in English. So it is not permissible to narrow fiqh to one particular school of thought. And Al-Azhar allowed his students to become, you know, Al-Azhar even issued a fatwa in this regard in 1958. Probably Syekh Saltut, one of the most famous ulama in Al-Azhar, issued a fatwa that it was permissible to join the Shia Imami wa Madrasah Ahlul Bayt Mazhab school, Islamic school, law Islamic school. Saltut is indeed now as a scholar who invites efforts to reopen the door of ijtihad. So he allowed his students to embrace other madhabs, such as Imami, even Imami Mazhab, Shia Ismaili, Shia Al-Imami. So according to Saltut, the Shia fiqh school, Madrasah Ahlul Bait Al-Ja'fari, can be used as a guide in worship to our God. Just like other faith school in Sunni tradition, Shafi'i, Hanbali, Hanafi, and others. So how about the role of higher institution and universities in Indonesia to take action on this renewal and reformation of Islamic studies? There are two typology, or there are two model in Indonesia in history, according to Islamic studies development. There are approaches, normative ideology approach, and historical sociological approaches in Islamic studies. So the Western scholar himself, such as McDonald and Gibb, warned of the danger of studying Islamic studies only with the normative approach. In the 1850, a number of Western universities began to develop area study centers covering many different disciplines. So that not only a theology, but sociology, history, geography, and etc. In many Western universities, Islamic studies lead to the view that Islam is a doctrine and civilization, not only a transcendent religion that is believed to be an absolute truth by okay, I will go forward to next slide. As mentioned by Professor Didin earlier, there are accounts in history in our institution that Ministry of Religious Affairs in past time, such like Munawar Shazali and scholars like Mukti Ali and Harun Nasution did open a door to next generation to take reform and renewal in Islamic studies. So, for example, Ministry of Religious Affairs has started to open master and doctor degree scholarship programs to Western countries, as Professor Ridwan mentioned earlier, continuing to strengthen the scientific base of Islamic tradition by opening scholarship to Middle Eastern countries and Muslim university also. How about scholarship from Indonesian government and Indonesian Ministry of Religious Affairs? There are several scholarships toward universities. This trend can be seen from the number of IAIN or UIN students and their lecturer also who are continuing their studies at McGill University, Leiden University, Ohio Institute, and others. So this movement gave birth to a generation of Islamic reforms, mujaddid, wa muslim, wa mumfakirun in the 80s and 90s. There is a paradigm shift in Islamic universities in Indonesia that is basically normative towards sociological, historical, and empirical studies.
I'm sorry,
So I think
you still have 5 minutes left.
5 menit, okay.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, yeah. So I think interdisciplinary Islamic studies is important to open the door of renewal and reformation and Islah wa Tajdid in the field of Islamic studies. So the need to develop Islamic studies using a multidisciplinary approach. Ministry of Religious Affairs in Indonesia collaborated with McGill University, Canada, to open a master and doctor degree. Until now, I suppose. It first time open in UIN Jakarta and UIN Yogyakarta. Again, the course, the mata kuliah, al-mawad ad-dirasiyah allati al-madrusah fi al-jami'ah al-islamiyah al-hukumiyah fi Indonesia أيضا تشتمل على المواد عن العلوم الاجتماعية وما إلى ذلك من يعني غير إسلامية تقريبا. يعني مثلا القرآن والحديث is completed with modern context, contemporary Islamic thoughts and movement. For example, Islam in Southeast Asia, studi Islam kawasan, and methods and theories in the study of Islam. لأننا كما ذكر الأستاذ Professor Didin, we are lack of methodologies in doing research and writing seriously. Okay, in conclusion, I would like to say that so far, higher education institutions both in the Middle East and in Indonesia both see the importance of taking strategic steps to welcome reform and renewal in the field of Islamic sciences. History shows that the strength or not these reforms is sometimes determined by the figure of the ulama, the support of the authorities, of course, the socio-political condition that develop in the country, and the intellectual discourse that develops among students. Now, the government of many Muslim countries, especially through the Ministry of Religion in Indonesia, are aware of continuing to reform. Scholarship continue to be given to the students, they continue their master and doctoral degree in Western countries. So, LPDP, I would like to say this is from the Ministry of Finance in Indonesia, collaborated with Ministry of Religious Affairs in Indonesia also. They gave a scholarship in several Western countries and Middle Eastern countries also. So the opportunities and challenges that by reading historical account of historical and Islamic studies. So Islamic studies have long historical roots as a basis for scientific development. Islamic studies underwent renewal, reform, and refreshment, which was carried out by the most respected Islamic university, Al-Azhar as example. Renewal of Islamic studies has several challenges, such as cultural dogmatism, taqlid wal jubud, interference from the authorities, al-mudakhalah min al-hukumah, masalan, and social fear. Social fear if efforts to reform the field of Islamic studies are carried out. يعني هناك المخاوف الاجتماعية التي تواجه المفكرين في إندونيسيا وهم يخافون من تجديد هذه الدراسات الإسلامية يعني لأن معظم المسلمين في إندونيسيا ما زالوا يعني يعتقدون أن الدين الإسلامي لا يحتاج إلى تصليح وتجديد وما إلى ذلك من محاولات التجديدية. That's all, Anna, probably from me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Gumilar. That was such a very fruitful presentation. And if I may add, maybe we should have better reformation of Islamic studies in Indonesia, seen from the long historical roots of Islamic studies. Okay, thank you very much, Pak Gumilar. Now, ladies and gentlemen, okay, we've come up to the Q&A session for those who want to ask to Mr. Gumilar or our previous 4 speakers. You can type your questions on the chat room box or use the raise hand button to ask directly to the speakers. Please make sure you mention your name and to whom your question is addressed. Oh, and don't forget to fill out the attendance form in the chat room box to get the e-certificate, which will be delivered later to your email as soon as you submit your attendance. Okay, so let's see whether among the participants we have today, there's someone raising the hand. Bapak Ibu, silakan. Bagi yang ingin bertanya, boleh ketik pertanyaannya di kolom chat box atau gunakan juga fitur raise hand yang ada di Zoom Room untuk bertanya langsung kepada pemateri. Bapak Ibu juga bisa bertanya langsung kepada pemateri menggunakan fitur raise hand. Tolong sebutkan nama lengkap dan sebutkan pula mungkin afiliasinya ya Bapak Ibu, if you have the affiliation, and also please sampaikan juga pertanyaannya untuk siapa gitu. Okay, so we have one participant who is going to ask to someone here, to the speakers. Okay, Pak Sakuri. Okay, please unmute yourself, Pak. Oh, sorry. Okay, Pak Sakuri. All right.
Terima kasih.
Okay, thank you. Please say your question.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Oke, terima kasih atas waktunya. My name is Sakuri. I am from the 7A class PCC PAI IAIN Syekh Nurjati.
Wow, that's nice.
I want to ask about the current of era of globalization and encourages accountability or training, the ways in which universities offer the words, how to cover it, to solve the problem.
Oke, Pak Sakuri bisa minta tolong disampaikan pertanyaannya untuk siapa? Dan mungkin bisa juga disampaikan dalam bahasa Indonesia.
Oke, terima kasih. Pertanyaan ini kami sampaikan untuk beliau, Bapak Profesor Wahid Nasruddin.
Okay, so the question is for Pak Wahid Nasruddin. Pertanyaannya, Pak? Bisa tolong disampaikan lagi pertanyaannya, Pak?
Oke.
Oke, bisa disampaikan lagi, Pak?
Oke, ini agak kesulitan bahasa Inggrisnya ini.
Oke, bisa disampaikan dalam bahasa Indonesia saja juga nggak apa-apa, Pak.
Saya kirim di chat Bu ya.
Alright, okay, let's see in the chat.
I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. Let me see in the chat box. Apakah sudah, Pak? Okay, so one message from Pak Sakuri. This question is for Pak Wahid. Hello, Pak Wahid, are you there?
Yes, I'm here and I'm reading the question.
All right, so Pak Sakuri wants to ask about the current era of globalization and increased accountability are changing the ways in which universities allow the world. How to cover it to solve the problem? Did you get the point, Pak Wahid?
Yes, I get the point.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Please, Pak Wahid.
Oh, I can directly answer the question?
Yeah, you can answer the question now.
Yeah. Okay, Pak Sakuri, thank you for the question. It's a really good question. Well, globalization and accountability really make a university to rethink how should they perform the education. And one way to solve the problem is buying lots of research. So we have globalization, we have lots of issue, we have issue of humanity, environmental issue, and other many other issues in the world, right? So how can university cope with those globalization? We also have students mobility, just like you. You are, I don't know where you are now, yeah, but you are not in Cirebon, right? If I'm not mistaken. So this is a part of globalization, and how to solve is by doing research. How to make the learning more human, how to make students more engaged in learning while we have we live in different parts of the world. So this what is it, doing Zoom meeting is just one way, and we have no idea whether this is effective or not. So research can be used to how we cope with globalization. Probably Pak Sakuri is from Indonesia, and we also the PJJPAI, I think they can also cover students from different countries. And there is another issue, language issue, for example. How can we, I mean, the students from different countries can learn, can study with lecturers from Indonesia. There will be problems, language problems. How can we cope with that? And we can cover or solve the problem by doing research. I cannot answer that because we haven't done the research yet, right? Accountability is also important, where everybody wants to see everything clearly. We how to say it? We don't want to keep behind something unclear. So like you study doing online learning, distance learning, and you want to know how can the lecturers measure my performance? How can I increase my skills? What to do for examination? There should be real process from one or from A to Z that we can know. And this accountability is also another issue, and we can cover it by doing research, how to do this following, I mean, just like step by step doing the online learning or distance learning. So the key to solve the problem is, for me, is still unidentifiable, because we have to do research. I hope that answered your question, Pak Sakuri. That's it, Anna.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Wahid Nasruddin, for the very detailed answers to Mr. Sakuri's and question. Okay, now we're moving on to the next questions. We have a lot of questions here, ladies and gentlemen. We have like 255 questions perhaps for today, and I will say the next question first. This is addressed to Professor William. Hello, Professor William. Okay. The question is from Effie Yulianingsih. So Ibu Effie Yulianingsih, and then she says, "Thanks for talking slowly and carefully, Pak William. We can try to understand your speaking because you talk slowly and very carefully." And then she says thank you for that. And she wanna ask, how do you feel when you ride motorcycle and meet a mother who also rides motorcycle, but with the wrong light sign, the wrong motor sign, when she wants to turn right, but actually she is signing to the right, signing to the left, I'm sorry. So how do you feel about that, Professor William Cleghorn?
Thank you for the question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question, and I'll be glad to respond to that.
Okay.
Thank you for the comments about slow speaking. Because my cross-cultural experience, I know that that is very important, and thank you for that. In Indonesia, we drive on the opposite side of the road in America. In America, we call women that turn that way, we call them left turners. In Indonesia, we call them right turners because it's opposite. So we have the same problem in America with the right-hand traffic pattern as we do in Indonesia with the left-hand traffic pattern. But I don't mind it because the traffic patterns in Indonesia, it's more focused on each individual rather than on the rights that a person has to drive. In America, we focus on the lane. We have this is our right of way. Don't get in my way. In Indonesia, it's much more relaxed, and I enjoy it more because we just watch out for everybody. We're like one big happy family on the road. When I go back to America, I have to be very careful because they're more aggressive, the speed is faster. But we have left turners and right turners in both. It's the same. People do the same things in both cultures. Okay, that's my answer. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Will. But actually, what Bu Evi Yulianingsih wants to ask is about when you are riding a motorcycle and then you see that this ibu-ibu in front of you, a mother in front of you, and then she's also riding a motorcycle. She wants to turn to the right, to turn to the left, but she apparently she is giving the right turn, the right sign. So do you feel angry or do you feel inconvenience about that?
No, I don't feel angry at all. Some of my American friends get very angry. They think, oh, you don't know how to drive. But I have learned the Indonesian culture, and that's okay. I never get mad when I ride on the motorcycle, and I see dangerous things from time to time, but it doesn't bother me. For me, it's okay. I have no bad feelings about that.
Okay, thank you very much to clarify everything, Professor William Claiborne. Now we are moving on to the next question, Bapak Ibu. We have another question here. This is the question is addressed to Pak Gumilar, and the question is from Arjulayana. Okay, Pak Gumilar, are you still there?
Yeah, Anna, I'm still here.
Okay, wait a second. So Pak Gumilar, Adulayana says, thank you for your enlightening knowledge related to Al-Azhar studies, Pak Gumilar. And then allow me to ask some of unique things from Al-Azhar with lecturers assess their students' pedagogical skills. Can you please to make it clear what do you think unique here? Because Indonesian learning model also did that, according to Arjulayana. So what do you mean by unique things here?
Okay, Anna, thank you for the questions. I think what Al-Azhar did in strengthening the methodology of teaching in the field of Islamic studies is to give opportunity to students to give a lecture in front of their lecturer, their ulama. This gives them a courage to open their idea and to present their idea, their new insights in front of the ulama itself. So beside that, the Al-Azhar and its ulama open the gate to experience other madhabs. So in the classroom, for example, the ulama of Al-Azhar al-Sharif gave introduction of other than Sunni madhabs in Islamic world. For example, the Shia or Imamiyah madhab. As I mentioned earlier, that Mahmud Shaltut, Syekh Mahmud Shaltut, allowed the students to pray and to al-amaliyat al-mumarasa ad-diniyah wal ibadat al-yawmiyah bi al-mazhab al-Ja'fari. So the school of Imamiyah, fiqh, Islamic law of Ja'fari, that is majority of Shia in Iran, is allowed to become one of the curriculum. So they inserted this mazhab into the curriculum of Al-Azhar wa Sharif in the Al-Fiqh or Usul Fiqh masalan. So introducing other madhabs other than the Sunni mazhab majority in Egypt is to allow the student to experience and to introduce themselves to others' thoughts, I suppose. So the unique things that Al-Azhar did in classroom is the Sunni students is experiencing others' prayer, others' worships from different mazhabs. So, for example, the Imami mazhab, the Ja'fari mazhab that has some critical differences with the Sunni mazhabs, for example. So I think that's what's done by Al-Azhar scholars. وأيضا علماء الأزهر الشريف لهم دور بارز في يعني التقريب بين المذاهب. هناك هيئة ومنظمة عالمية للتقريب بين المذاهب، وعلماء الأزهر يشاركون في هذه المنظمة بشكل يعني هائل. Probably that's my answer.
Okay,
Anna.
Thank you, Pak Gumilar, and thank you for the further explanation. Now I'm going to read another question here, and the question is for Professor Didin. Okay, so I will just read the question here, Pak Didin. My name is Muhammad Raja Hassan. I'm from Department of History, Islamic Civilization. I want to ask for the first question is whether when PTKIN first appeared, whether or not there were people who disagreed about this. And then the second question, what is the meaning about the research topic are outdated? Because earlier in the PowerPoint, in your presentation, you mentioned about that the research topic are outdated. So maybe Hassan wants to ask some clarification. What do you mean by research topic are outdated? Okay. Did you get the point, Professor Didin?
Can you repeat especially the first question?
Okay, the first question here, he says, when did PTKIN first appear? Oh. And then the second question is, what is the meaning about the research topic are outdated?
Okay.
So earlier you mentioned about the research topic are outdated, and then Hassan wants to ask why and what do you mean about that? Okay.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Anna, and thank you, Raja, for the questions. I would like to answer the first questions. When did PTKIN for the first time found, or appear in Indonesia? As I said in my presentation, that the ideas of having Islamic higher learning had been promoted by Muslim leaders a decade before independence, but they couldn't realize that idea because of some reason. One of them was the invasion of Japan colonial power in early 1940s, and they just been able to establish Islamic higher learning in the early years or even months of independence, but they are all short-lived because of many reasons, including the ideas how to push all Islamic higher learning institution in one full-fledged university, what's so-called as Universitas Islam Indonesia. Yeah. And those ideas are still coming from people. So the status of this university is private instead of owned by the state. Yeah. And Indonesia, as the government, through Ministry of Religious Affairs, initiated to establish the first Islamic higher learning only in 1950s and early 1960s. And Jakarta and Yogyakarta were the basis of those universities. So UIN Sunan Kalijogo and IAIN or UIN Syarif Hidayatullah are the first universities in Islamic universities in Indonesia. And our campus, if I'm not mistaken, is in the last 1960s, precisely in 1967, but then transformed into different kind of formulation in terms of institutionalism. For example, in the first time, the first faculty was founded is Faculty of Usuluddin, but after years, this faculty was removed to Jakarta, and this left just one faculty, Faculty of Islamic Education. And I think in 1997, this faculty transformed into Sekolah Tinggi Agama Islam or STAIM, yeah, before being transformed again into IAIN in 2010. So this is all the history of our campus. And second question, why I said that there are still research for topics are outdated? Yes, because they just concentrate on their own subject. They methodologically they just doing such kind of normative approach without trying to respond the challenges posed by globalization or modernization within society. So it is how to connect between research, what we have done so far, with the notion of society. So a university can play more roles in terms of developing societies instead of just concentrating in their own subject and expertise without trying to make relevant for our society needs, for example. That's what I said, that our research topic is outdated. Yeah, I could say it like that. Anna, thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Didin. That was a very detailed answers. Now we have another question here. This is coming from Pak Rijal Mahdi. Yeah, this is for Pak Dr. Syauki. Pak Syauki, are you there? Hello, Pak Syauki, are you still there?
Ya, ada insyaAllah.
Okay. All right. The question is from Pak Rijal. He asked, kenapa Malaysia bisa banyak mendatangkan dosen dari negara Arab ke Malaysia? Apakah ini dihandle oleh negara atau kampus masing-masing? Karena di Indonesia itu kok sangat sulit ya. Begitu Pak Syauki. I hope you get the point ya Pak Syauki.
Ya, baik. Ya, terima kasih atas soalan yang diberikan. Terlebih dahulu saya ingin melahirkan rasa teruja berada dalam conference ini, memang betul-betul international, dan saya rasa seronok bila dipanggil sebagai bapa. Okey. Berkenaan tentang soalan tadi tentang keberadaan pensyarah-pensyarah daripada luar Malaysia yang berada di Malaysia, kita lihat kepada di mana mereka berada. Kalau mereka berada di universiti-universiti kerajaan, kita sebut sebagai Institut Pengajian Tinggi Awam, maka itu memang di bawah tanggungan kerajaan Malaysia. Tetapi berbeza jika mereka bekerja di sektor swasta. Contohnya macam kami di UniSyams, universiti kami adalah di bawah kerajaan negeri Kedah, bukannya di bawah kerajaan Persekutuan Malaysia, maka itu adalah di bawah tanggungan universiti. Gitu juga kadang-kadang ada yang mengajar di sekolah-sekolah, jika dia adalah di sekolah yang swasta juga sama juga di bawah tanggungan pihak sekolah secara swasta, secara kesendirian. Tapi jika berada di sekolah kerajaan, maka itu dah di bawah tanggungan kerajaan. Jadi dia lihat pada keadaan lah, sama ada dengan kerajaan ataupun dengan swasta. Saya beritahu di sini jawapan saya ialah dua-dua ada. Dua-dua ada. Apakah saya telah menjawab soalan?
Okay, I hope it is very clear, yeah, to Pak Rijal. Thank you, Pak Syauki. Now, we're going to move to the very last question, yeah. Well, the last question is actually from me, yeah, because I'm so, what is it? I just want to know, okay, because I want to ask Pak William, Mr. Clegg, are you still there?
Hello?
Okay, so the question is from me, directly from me, Pak Clegg, yeah. Well, earlier here you mentioned about the hearing impaired students, yeah, where they actually can think like normal beings, although they are normal, yeah, they are actually normal, and then they can also sing, right? So they can also sing, and then it makes me remember the last time of the event Super Bowl, where Rihanna sang in that event, and then there was a sign language performer while she was singing, yeah, while Rihanna was singing, and then what is it? The spotlight. I mean, the audience, the attention here is attracted to Justina Miles, if I'm not mistaken, the name, yeah, Justina Miles. She is a sign language performer, and then she did the performance very great during the Rihanna's singing performance. And yeah, I just want to know about your opinion. What should our institutions do to accommodate such talent? Because, well, I see that Justina Miles is very talented, and in case in the future we have hearing impaired students, yeah, in our institutions, in IAIN Cirebon perhaps, yeah. So what should our institutions do to accommodate such talent so that they can actualize themselves?
Thank you. That is a very good question. And there are many answers for that. First, hearing impaired people, although many of them have multiple handicaps, or there might be cerebral palsy, it might be other issues. I personally know hearing impaired people that have cerebral palsy, that have much difficulty in communicating by sign language. I know that they have graduated from college. They're some of my personal friends. They have to learn different skills, and other people have to learn about them to understand that the way they're communicating is normal for them, and it must be interpreted so that the right meaning that they have in their mind is understood by the person that associates with them. So multiple handicaps makes it a little bit more difficult. But in my experiences, I have even taught deaf choirs to where, 5, 10, 15 small groups, 20 people could sing together and express their emotions through sign language, and even menyamakan their signs with the recording. And it's beautiful. It's an expression that's not possible just with the spoken language. But in America, we have a long history of deaf education that goes all the way back to Gallaudet College over 100 years ago. And there has to be an awareness, and I cannot speak informatively about the deaf education in Indonesia yet, but I am doing my S3 research on that topic. And I plan to visit a lot of the schools. And as a foreigner or an asing, I cannot become involved in things that belong to a nation because I'm an outsider. But I can make observations and I can write research papers that might be a help to some people. But education for the hearing impaired must start early. It must start when they're children. It involves education of the parents and of the family. It involves an awareness in the society that these children are not, they're not strange, they're not possessed by devils, they're not magic, or they're not something else. They're actually normal people in a different body, and they have different ways of communicating. But to develop a program that teaches the hearing impaired how to read well and understand the English language mechanically. They are very capable of understanding syntax and phonology, or not phonology, but phonemics and all. They are very skilled at that. When they get focused on the printed page and can understand the printed page, a lot of times they will educate themselves when they are introduced to the richness of language and the richness, the beautifulness that are in texts. I have many friends that probably have a much higher IQ than I have, and they have advanced, but they are hearing impaired. But it's a project that involves all of society. It involves the government with laws and legislation. It involves the local level of acceptance and understandability. It involves lower education, middle education, and higher education. I travel around Bandung a lot, and I see deaf people, or hearing impaired people everywhere. I try to communicate with them, but because I am an orang asing and my skin is white, they're a little embarrassed to talk with me. And a lot of them that I meet, I have to communicate with them in more like homemade signs or natural signs, because many of them do not have access, or they have not learned an official sign language yet. I have met other hearing impaired people that are very well educated in sign language, and I can communicate with them even though there's differences in the sign language, because I understand some of the syntax of their language. I can communicate with them. That is possible for all deaf people, unless there is a mental deficiency or something beyond that. But I also know of cases where the person could not communicate hardly at all through manual sign language. But when they could communicate, it was very clear that their mind was just as clear and just as able to function as my mind. It was just an issue of expression. They could hear, they could understand, but they could not respond in a way. But if our society understands that about these people, then we could care for them more, and we could interact with them more. And the IT section in our universities, hearing impaired people are brilliant with technology stuff, computer sciences and all. So that's my answer on that. It is a big, it involves every aspect of society, and it is important. It is an important human resource that a nation has, and I hope that many third world countries will consider this and make progress in it, because much work needs to be done in this area. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak William Clayton. Yeah. So to sound Indonesian, Pak. So we call you Pak here. Okay, well, thank you very much for the explanation, William. And now we have already come to the end of our seminar. But before we end the seminar, maybe there are some closing remarks from each of the speakers. Maybe we can start from Professor Didin first, perhaps.
Okay. First of all, I would like to say thank you, not only for everything organized very well in this seminar, but also the topics presented by the speakers. I learned a lot from Professor William Cleghorn about what the meaning of language and how difficult language is when we try to cross culture. And I learned also from Professor Shauki how difficult we try to teach students coming from non-native countries to learn Arabic. And we have seen also in Indonesia that our Muslim students have such a big problem when they learn Arabic. So this seminar is very inspiring, and I hope that we can learn together how to do the best for our campus as well as for our society. We cannot stand alone without being relevant for our society, and hope that I was amazed by the number of participants. It reached more than 300. So we hope that all messages discussed and elaborated deeply in this seminar will be spread out to other part of our society. Thank you very much, Anna.
Okay,
and especially for you, thank you for being very, very good and nice.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Professor Didin. The next speaker may be Wahid. Do you have some closing remarks?
Okay, thank you, Anna. So I think this is for, thank you for all of us who are here, all presenters, and for the Dean. And I just want to highlight here that we know nothing about how can we proceed except by doing research. And this is a very great opportunity for us to collaborate, whether with Dr. William Cleghorn or with Dr. Muhammad Shauki Arshad and other people, that we need to see and we need to be brave enough to see, to question what anything that we have in my mind. Don't be afraid of asking question. And maybe the questions are not popular, but that's the point. Just ask, and we need to do more research, which is actually with an unpopular question is something new, or that's the part of innovation. So a question from some participant asking about what kind of new research or an example of new research. Well, just try to throw your question, and check whether your questions are the same with other people. When your questions are different, that's the point. You are innovative, and don't be afraid to ask questions. I think that's what is it? The closing statement from me. Thank you.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Pak Wahid. Now let's go to Pak Shauki. Perhaps do you have any closing remarks, Pak Shauki?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. One more again, I would like to thank you, the organizer, for having me. Actually, I do not have any opportunity to go to Indonesia even once. So I hope that in the next future, if IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon will make a new conference
Okay, hopefully in the second edition, yeah.
Yeah, face to face.
Yeah, face to face.
So I can travel
Offline.
to Indonesia, inshallah. Thank you again for having me. Syukran jazilan.
Okay, thank you, Pak Syauki. Next, the closing statement from Pak Gumilar.
أيوة أنا شكرا. أنا أريد أن أشير إلى أمرين أساسيين في تكوين البيئة التجديدية في الدراسة الإسلامية أظن. يعني one first thing is the courage, الشجاعة. يعني هناك الشجاعة لدى الطلاب الطلبة في الجامعات الإسلامية. هم لابد أن يكونوا شجعانا لعمليات التجديد والإصلاح، لأنهم لديهم يعني أساس تاريخي قوي في التراث والتقاليد الإسلامية. والثاني and second thing is the multidisciplinary science into Islamic studies. So I think وهذا ونحن في حاجة ماسة إلى إدخال وتدميج العلوم الأخرى الاجتماعية والطبيعية وما إلى ذلك إلى العلوم الإسلامية التقليدية. So that's my conclusion.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Gumilar. Now, the next closing remark comes from Pak William Clayburn. Okay.
Thank you.
Please, Pak William Clayburn.
Okay, thank you very much. Again, I have enjoyed the conference. I have learned something from each one of the speakers. I hope this is my first web seminar, so I hope my presentation and all is okay and so fine with everything.
We should meet again, Pak. In the second edition.
I'm sure I will learn more later. But for closing remarks, I, of course, as you know, I am Orang Christian, and my world is sedikit beda, is different than the Islamic world. I live in Indonesia that's 90% Muslim, and because of that, I am not afraid to ask questions. The point was well made by Professor Didin and Wahid. That we should ask questions to expand our horizons. And to do that, of course, I have tried to, I'm in the process of reading the Al-Quran in Bahasa Indonesia and Bahasa English, both, because I have never read that book completely before. So I want to know about that. But if we can learn to ask the correct question, it will lead us to truth. And that is the most important thing. And I think several of the professors made that point. Thank you very much for the invitation to participate. And it was all done very well. You're an excellent moderator. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak William Clayburn. Now, the last but not least, maybe a few sentences from the Dean of the Faculty of Usuluddin and Adab, Pak Dr. Anwar Sanusi. Halo, Pak Dr. Anwar Sanusi, apakah masih di room?
Baik, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Yang kami hormati para narasumber, Prof. Didin, Dr. William Kegen, kemudian Dr. Muhammad Syauki, dan Mas Wahid, juga Mas Gumilar. Hanya ucapan dan ungkapan terima kasih yang tiada terhingga atas perkenan memberikan pencerahan kepada kami, Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon, yang insya Allah ini adalah term pertama atau seminar internasional pertama, dan akan kita lanjutkan pada pertemuan-pertemuan ke depan, insya Allah dengan kajian yang akan lebih menarik, kajian yang akan lebih menantang, dan mudah-mudahan Bapak dan bersedia untuk dalam pertemuan-pertemuan mendatang untuk mengisi kembali dalam undangan kami. Dan terima kasih juga kepada para peserta yang alhamdulillah di luar dugaan kami hampir mencapai 350 orang peserta. Ini sebuah prestasi dan capaian yang amat sangat menggembirakan bagi kami. Dan tentunya saran dan kritik bagi kami dari teman-teman peserta dan mungkin juga nanti ada masukan dari para narasumber untuk kebaikan-kebaikan kami di masa yang akan datang. Tentu kami sangat terbuka sekali, Pak Dr. William Krigan dan Mas Muhammad Sauki, jangan selesai dengan seminar ini. Kami harapkan pengembangan kerjasama kita di masa yang akan datang, saya pikir lebih sangat memungkinkan kita untuk sama-sama terbuka, sama-sama memperbaiki guna pencapaian program yang kita inginkan, yakni menuju IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon sebagai World Class University, karena memang target dari IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon adalah sebagaimana yang tadi dikumandangkan di awal, Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab bercita-cita menciptakan fakultas yang unggul dan terkemuka, yakni dalam persoalan mendunia dan ataupun dalam perguruan tinggi yang kelas dunia. Yang ini tentunya harapan saya, karena beriring dengan transformatif IAIN Syekh Nurjati Cirebon yang tentunya menjadi satu-satunya perguruan tinggi di Indonesia yang berbasis cyber. Dan ini tentunya menjadi sebuah penghargaan dan kebanggaan bagi kita Cirebon, dan tentunya harapan bagi kami ini adalah bagian yang tidak bisa terpisahkan dari kegiatan-kegiatan kita dalam menuju kelas internasional. Oleh karena itu, ucapan dan ungkapan terima kasih yang tidak terhingga tentunya kepada sahabat-sahabat kami, ternyata para forum dekan seluruh Indonesia, Fakultas Usuluddin dan Adab dan Dakwah seluruh Indonesia juga pada hadir, wakil dekan, bahkan dari teman saya, sahabat saya dari UIN Banten, Mas Wim juga hadir. Alhamdulillah informasi ini dapat ini semuanya oleh teman-teman dan sahabat-sahabat kami. Namun sebelum ditutup, Mbak Ana, ini kita foto dulu lah. Barangkali lama ini, barangkali nanti ketemu di offline ya, Dr. William dan Dr. Muhammad Sauki Arsad. Mudah-mudahan kita ketemu di darat lah satu waktu ya. Itu saja dari saya, kurang lebihnya mohon maaf. Wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Pak Dekan Anwar Sanusi. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are at the end of our today's seminar. I'd like to say thank you to our wonderful 5 speakers, Dr. William Cleghorn, Dr. Muhammad Syauqi bin Arsyad, Mr. Wahid Nasruddin PhD, Professor Haji Didin Nurul Rosidin MA PhD, and Mr. Gumilar Irfanullah MSc. Thank you for being here, for sharing your thoughts and giving us a lot of insights in this international seminar. We hope we can benefit from today's discussion, and we wish we could meet you again in the next edition of FUA International Seminar or any other upcoming agenda. Thank you very much. But before you leave, gentlemen, we are now at the end of the seminar, so maybe we could take some photos with the participants to document this event. So, Bapak Ibu, mohon hidupkan kamera. Please turn on your camera, and the operator will take a photo of each slide. And I will count up to 3, and you can say cheese ya. Nanti saya hitung 1 sampai 3 ya, Bapak Ibu. Nanti setelah itu bilang cheese gitu ya, biar kita semuanya smile ya. Okay, are you ready? Bapak Ibu?
Are you ready? I'm ready. Please.
Alright.
Ready.
Mr. Aming.
Okay.
My comment extraordinary this program trained me to be able to speak English better.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak. So the operator, please.
Cheese. Once more, please,
Oh, wait a second, Pak. Let's wait for the operator to take the photos.
Logo Usuluddin.
Operator. Okay. Maybe I will just take the photo ya. I will count up to 3 ya. Bapak Ibu, saya hitung sampai 3, and then please say cheese ya. Okay, are you ready? Slide number 1 first. We have 9 slides, Pak. Ada 9 slides nih. Okay, slide 1, cheese.
Cheers.
Okay, sorry, it took very long. Okay, that was the first slide, and then the second slide. Okay, wait a second, Pak. Okay, second slide. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheese.
Okay. That's the second slide. Hang on. Now, the third slide. I will count up to 3. Third slide. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheers.
Okay.
Semua mengikuti apa yang diinginkan Mbak Ana ini.
Yeah. All right. And then, okay, I will save it first. We're going to the next slide. We're going to the next slide. Slide number 4. I will count up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Say cheese.
Cheers.
Okay. All right. Now moving on to the next slide. Slide number 5. We have a lot, Pak. So it seems that the participants today are very enthusiastic, yeah. Okay, I will count up to 3. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay. Bapak Ibu, you can turn on the camera so that the operator can document your beautiful face. Okay. Next, slide number 6. All right, I will count up to 3. 1, 2, 3. Say cheese. Okay. Hang on, Bapak Ibu. All right. Okay, it seems that we have 100 slides here. We have a lot of participants today. Okay, slide number 7. Say 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheers.
Okay, I will just save it here. Hang on. Okay, now slide number 8. Bapak Ibu, can you please turn on the camera? All right, I will count up to 3, yeah. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we'll save it first. And then the last slide, Bapak Ibu, the last slide. This is slide number 102, perhaps, yeah. Okay, now the last slide. Okay, I will count up to 3. 1, 2, 3, cheese.
Cheers.
Okay, thank you. I will save it first. All right. Okay. So, Bapak Ibu, that's a wrap. Yeah. Thank you very much once again, Bapak Ibu, for your participation. Thank you for the enthusiasm. On behalf of the committee and the faculty, we would like to say sorry for any mistakes or inconvenience that we might make during the seminar. And we hope we can meet you soon in the following edition of FUA International Seminar. Yeah. Thank you very much. I'm Ana Humardiana signing out. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Happy
Waalaikumsalam
Ramadan,
warahmatullahi
everyone.
wabarakatuh.
Yeah, happy Ramadan,
Thank you
everyone.
for William Playground. Yeah, I
Thank you,
hope we can
Professor.
meet in Indonesia. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Dr. William Claiborne. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the speakers, Pak Gumilar, and then Pak Dr. Sauki, and also Pak Wahid. Thank you very much, Professor Didin too. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Dekan.
Selamat
Thank you,
Pak Dekan.
Oh yeah, don't forget
Selamat ya.
jangan lupa Bapak Ibu daftar hadirnya bisa diisi untuk mendapatkan sertifikat ya. Thank you.
Ya,
Dan Bu, dan
Dapatkan uang transport.
Tolong di-share lagi data hadirnya.
Daftar hadirnya ada Bapak Ibu di
ya di chat lagi Mbak.
mana ya?
Kan ayah
Waduh,
uang transport
Cek
gini.
lagi, Mbak.
Ada Pak Dekan Win dan Patah ini.
Selamat Pak
Daftar
Dekan.
hadir.
Alhamdulillah.
Ini Pak Dekan. Pak Didin
Selamat,
ini
Pak Dekan,
seniornya
ya.
Pak Didin ini.
Ya Pak Didin
Aku
Ustaz.
minta link daftar hadir.
Oke, daftar hadirnya sudah adakah?
belum.
Bu
Sudah tadi.
Mutahirana, apakah bisa di-share daftar hadir?
Bahana tolong diikan Pak Prof. Rizan. Dan
Bagaimana
Patah
Pak Dekan?
dimunculkan Pak Dekan Win dan Patah Palembang. Prof.
Pak
Rizan.
Dekan. Oke.
Prof. Rizan.
Jadi second Pak.
Selamat Pak Dekan, Pak. Tangan Nor.
Oh ini Pak Petro ya.
Pak Muiz.
Bukan, Kendari Mas.
Ya.
Siap.
PD Kendari. Makanya ini para dekan hadir semua ini, saya bangga banget.
Alhamdulillah.
Berkah Ramadan pertama ya, hari pertama.
Ini
Pak Dekan.
Iya.
Oke, selamat ya Pak Anwar ya. Ade.
Ya, Prof.
Alhamdulillah.
Ini gara-gara Palembang ini saya jadi terpacu ini.
Alhamdulillah. Memang untuk memulainya Mbak susah, cuma nanti setelah ini akan mudah.
Virusnya dari Palembang Pak Prof.
Iya.
Salam dari dekan saya Prof.
Ya,
dari
ke depan perlu ada mahasiswa yang tampil ya.
Alhamdulillah.
Iya.
Ya, kita akan nyusul pola yang kedua, Prof. Rizan.
Ya, oke.
Nanti kerjasama dengan Iran mungkin dan Malaysia bertiga. Kita lewat Zoom 3 mahasiswa.
Alhamdulillah.
Iya, insya Allah itu aman, lancar. Oke. Selamat semuanya ya.
Yang muda-muda ini ada Mbak Ana, ada Mbak Rani, ada
Pak Gumilar, Pak.
Gumilar.
Ini ada
muda-muda saya.
Ini ada direktur Pak Amir Tolha itu. Ada Pak Rektor, Dr. Yambang.
Oh, gitu.
Bagus sekali ini.
Ayo Ustaz Amir.
Mandruk. Iya, tadi ada buka di apa itu? Di grup WA DP muncul link ini, saya gabung dari tadi ya. Ya sambil recovery lah, murojaah bahasa Arab, bahasa Inggris kayak digontor dulu itu.
Saya izin les ya Pak.
Oh nggak apa-apa, kita ngobrol yang tua ini.
Terima kasih Bapak Ibu.
Iya.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam. Yang tua-tua yang ngobrol.
Iya. Ini saya ini orang tarbiyah tapi banyak taklim di Usuluddin karena taklim tasawuf.
Tapi memang menarik ini gara-gara saya gabung dengan Usuluddin jadi banyak lari. Alhamdulillahnya. Dalam alur cerita itu unik Pak Prof. Rizan. Detik-detik terakhir itu saya mau ditempatkan di dakwah. Tapi kemudian orang-orang Usuluddin pernah demo ke rektor. Harus di Usuluddin.
Berkah itu Pak.
Iya, justru itu. Tarik menarik saya di dakwah atau di Usuluddin. orang-orang Usuluddin yang
Mungkin-
demo ke Pak Rektor.
Mungkin kelihatan lebih sufi Pak, jadi diarahkan ke Usuluddin.
Sufi suka film.
Kalau saya lihat lagi, saya melihat Pak Anwar ini bukan sufinya, mempremankan Usuluddin beliau ini sekarang nih.
Oh gitu.
Iya. Kalau memfilsafatkan bertasawufkan Usuluddin udah biasa, sekarang tidak,
Iya.
mempremankan Usuluddin, itu yang bagus.
Ke dunia nyata Prof ya, ke dunia nyata.
Iya.
Ini yang unik.
Oke ya, kita ini ya, kita live ya. Terima kasih Pak
Oke,
Anwar
oke.
ya. Terima kasih.
Oke.
Ya ada Pak Amir juga, Amir Maliki. Terima kasih
Ya.
semuanya.
Sehat selalu Prof Rizwan.
Iya, oke. Oke ya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi
Anda juga
wabarakatuh.
pamit. Nanti kalau ke Brebes tak sambangi lah mampir ke Cirebon insya Allah.
Oke.
Boleh nanti mampir ke kampus.
Iya banyak teman-teman sekolah itu di Jakarta dulu deh.
Oh, nggih.
Oke, syukran Mas Anwar. Nggih, lanjut. Assalamualaikum.
Ya, waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam. Link daftar hadir bisa di-share?
Bisa saya share nanti Japri lah.
Oh iya. Tarbiyah ini tarbiyah. MPI.
Siap.
Terima kasih, Prof.
Ya.
Assalamualaikum.
Salam.